Quarterback class for the 2026 NFL Draft has been underwhelming so far this season, and it has not been what we expected.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network in 2019, national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, NFL draft storylines. We're going to talk about this quarterback class for the 2026 NFL draft and why it's not what we believed it was going to be. Then perfect prospect pairing, and then we're going to close the show out with Coach 'em Up. But before we get into all of that, Crossover Thursday is presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. NFL draft storylines. The 2026 quarterback class is not what we thought it was going to be, Keith. The top guys that, the Garrett Nussmeiers, the Cade Klubniks, for some people, the Drew Allers, the guys that have played a lot, that had enough, playing time, they're the elder statesmen in this class. Those have been the guys that have been really the disappointments for us, where you kind of look at the young guys right now, or even the unknown guys, Trinidad Chambliss, Jayden Maiava over at USC. Aiden Childs is playing well for Michigan State, which is crazy because no one's talking about Aiden Childs. And he's in the NFL offense, under center stuff, run game, play action, bootlegs. He's running the NFL offense at Michigan State, and he's playing well. And, getting the ball out, still being the big athletic quarterback that he is as well. It seems none of the guys we expected to be at the top of this situation are at the top of the situation right now, Keith. It's these young guys, the Dante Moores that, hey, it's only my first year as a full-time starter, but I'm showing you more than the guys who've had 2-3 years underneath their belt.
Yeah, that's the current state of where we are, right? And this conversation should be a good conversation because it's really updating where we're at as far as, when people put out mock drafts and current rankings and things like that. And what do you do with those names, right? The Cade Klubniks, the Nussmeiers, the Arch Mannings, right? The guys that drove the conversation preseason, right? Leading up into the season. And then when we look around and it's the Fernando Mendozas, it's the Dante Moores, it's the I believe Ty Simpson, DP Alabama.
Oh yeah, Ty
Simpson has yet to throw an interception. And I went and jumped into the Georgia game, and he made the right decisions. Georgia played a lot of cover 2, and he ate the cover 2 up. They tried him to go deep, and he said, "You know what? I'll do it." And so I think it's exciting, and this is probably the perfect time to have this conversation. Last week was a great week of college football, and then now this week with the follow-up is, we're in conference play, right? Because you're starting to get more conference on conference matchups, which means we're going to have a lot more data points coming out for these quarterbacks. And I think a guy like Lenoir Sellers has been somewhat floating in the middle, right? Where he hasn't been playing bad, and then he hasn't been playing lock-in number 1 overall pick neither. But having these tests, I think he has LSU not this weekend, but next weekend, right? And then this week, I believe we have a Texas versus Florida matchup this week too. So it's a couple different things that can happen. I think Alabama and Vanderbilt play each other, which should be fun. So for these quarterbacks, DP, when I look at the overall scheme of things, I'm like, hey, is it going to be a young guy, a potential 1-year starter that comes in and kind of takes it by storm?
Yeah, and that's really the way it's looking right now. And I know there's a lot of talk of, man, I think there was a report that came out that Dante Moore isn't, he's not looking ahead at the NFL. People are expecting him to go back to Oregon. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good in October.
I'm about to say they're saying the right thing, right? You're saying the right thing.
Very, very good PR move, right? Like, he's like, yeah, I'm focused on Oregon right now, and I'm we're young and it's all saying all the right things, and then college football playoffs comes, your final game, whenever that is, it was national championship, whatever, and the NFL calls it, yeah, we got a top 10 grade on you. He's like, well, I was going to go back. He was like, well, we're just letting you know we got a top 10 grade on you. That's up to you. You do what you want to do. Can't promise it's going to be like that next year. So
Right.
it's up to you, right? So like him, Jayden, Maiava, all these young men, like these young quarterbacks are playing at a level that we wanted to see the other guys play, like
So
consistent.
I have a question because we have a segment of inexperienced quarterbacks, right? Or
Mhm.
we have data points for any, and some of them don't work out. How comfortable, let's say if Dante Moore stays the same, right? Meaning that
Mhm.
he stays playing good football. If Jayden Maiava stays playing good football, how comfortable are you with drafting guys that are kind of 1 year, 1.5 year starters that high, top 10, top 15?
By the way that those especially those two young men, the way that they are playing, I
Mhm.
would feel comfortable
Oh,
with it
okay.
because
Would you throw Ty Simpson into that bucket?
close. Ty's climbing up the ranks for me. I gotta see how the rest of the season plays out. Definitely can't lose this week to Vanderbilt. I gotta see some things play out for him, but he's working his way up too. Like so, it's like the way these guys are playing, I think for me mentally, right? It's not just all tools and all physical raw ability, which
Mhm.
is kind of some of the conversation around Lenore Sellers. It's like, you see the flashes of that brilliant throw, but then you see a lot of his escapability and creativity with his legs and throwing off a 300-pound defensive lineman. And it was just like, that's great. You know what I mean? I'm glad you got that in your bag, but can we work the quick passing concepts in a 10-play drive? You get the ball out quick and we just dink and dunk our way down the field and execute the offense at a consistent pace and level. That's what I'm waiting to see from him. And then, I think you talked about it. I pulled up their schedule. Yes, I think they have a bye week this weekend, so no game for South Carolina. They have LSU, Oklahoma. You might get John Mateer. Then you got Bama. You go to Mississippi. I think that's Ole Miss. They go to Ole Miss. They go to Texas A&M, and then you end up playing Clemson, who that's like a divisional game for you. You face them every year. You know each
Mhm.
other. It is what it is. But I think with this quarterback class, for scouts and I think the report said that scouts are running to go ahead and get their reports done on the Dante Moore just in case he declares. Like I said, a lot of these guys they're in the now, but the way that they're playing, yeah, I would feel comfortable taking them in the top 10. Man, I feel like we've been losing. Shout out to Michael Irvin. I feel like we've been losing recipes in the NFL with quarterbacks, Keith. Like I feel like we've been losing recipes. What
Right.
happened to letting the veterans really teach the young men instead of throwing them out there like, hey, go win us a Super Bowl in year one? Like that stuff got to stop. So I feel
Yeah,
comfortable with these young
but
guys.
that's succumbing to one-offs, right? Like we get
Mm-hmm.
the CJ Stroud, he has a great rookie year, then it's like, oh, everybody should play as rookies. Then it's like,
Jay Daniels comes right behind
yeah,
it.
yeah, Jayden Daniels come right behind. But the question is, what has been the more consistent recipe for success? And when you look at some of the recipes that produced Hall of Fame quarterbacks, has been sitting down for at least a few weeks,
Mm-hmm.
if not an entire year, right? Like Patrick
Yep.
Mahomes, Tom Brady, Eli Manning had what he had
Kurt Warner.
he had Kurt Warner early on. It's been plenty of quarterbacks that have had veterans in the room with them. And to me, DP, it only makes sense. Like just to have somebody to show you the ropes, right? That's just like when you start any job, right? They tell you to shadow
Somebody
somebody,
trains
or
you.
they put you through training, right? Like they have to show you what to do on the job, and you're not getting trained by another rookie, right?
No.
Like it's not two people first day of work trying to show each other what to do. It's somebody who's been there, right?
It's funny because Keith, it's so much common sense, and the
Yeah.
NFL doesn't do it, and it's just like why?
Yeah, it almost makes too much sense, DP. Well, you know what,
Facts.
with NFL, so let's do the total opposite of what the
Total
entire
opposite.
workforce does, right? So it is funny, it's actually amazing. But I think it's really going to be fun to continue to pay attention to these quarterbacks. Like I said, man, it's October, right? You know what I'm saying? The
Yes.
leaves turning a little brown, orange, got different colors. It's football weather.
Let's
And we're
go.
getting things going and flowing with this quarterback narrative. But DP, let's do this, man. It's time to transition. It's time to switch up the conversation. Let's talk about perfect parents. Y'all know what we do with this, man. We pick the NFL draft prospect. We pick the NFL team. We say this combination needs to happen. So let's talk about that coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is here and in full swing, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right, you heard me correct. Pick a bet, put down $5, $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 back in bonus bets to use freely across the app. I mean, you could use it on things like betting on player props, building a same game parlay, or even jumping into the live action as it unfolds. So my question to you is simple. What are you waiting for? Go visit FanDuel.com right now to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything, but from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every single crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Perfect prospect pairing. Keith, I go to a team I didn't think would be trending in this direction. If you asked me during the summer, I'm gonna take TJ Parker, the edge rusher from Clemson, who Clemson's, their season is what we know it is. We talked about it ad nauseum on this pod. And he's like, narrative wise, he's probably fallen out of being a top 10 pick to a top 15, top 20 pick, probably top 15. And I'm gonna send them to the Baltimore Ravens, a team that looks like they're about to be drafting top 15. They are 1-3, and now the injuries are piling up. Lamar Jackson is going to be out with a hamstring for 2 to 3 weeks. That's 2 to 3 games with Cooper Rush starting for you. Good luck. You lose Nnamdi Madubuike. He's out for the season with a neck injury. They're dropping like flies right now on that Baltimore Ravens team. And even when they were healthy, the DC, there's issues with play calling on the defensive side of the ball. This was trending, like, like the fact that the defense is giving up, I think it was 41, was it 41 to Buffalo, 37 Kansas City.
Statistically, and I just seen it this morning, DP, I think it's two different ones. They might be tied for last in points per game, like giving up the most points per game. And they might be second to last behind the Dallas Cowboys in yards per game or something like that. They're at the bottom or towards the bottom in both categories.
Things you would never hear, you would never expect to hear about a Baltimore Ravens team. So for me, it's like, they brought it, they drafted, they're struggling because Kyle Van Noy's been banged up start the season, so he's one of the better pass rushers. They drafted Mike Green second round, but we knew that Mike Green, he's a really good pass rusher. He still has to develop as a run defender. At the end of the day, you still got to develop as a pass rusher in the NFL. Bringing a TJ Parker in, to me, now gives you, because Mike Green, long-term, I look at it, long-term, Mike Green's going to be that fastball for you, the speed, the explosiveness, the dip bend, the agile rusher. And then TJ Parker is that speed, the power, hand technician that can collapse the pocket. You can be able to collapse the pocket from each end. Both of them play with high motors. Both of them had good closing bursts and speed to the quarterback. And I think being able to get them top 15, where it looks like to me, I wouldn't be surprised if they go 0-3 the games that Lamar Jackson doesn't play. You're already 1-3. So if he misses the next 3 games, you might be looking at 1-6. You know what I mean? By the time he returns. And then it's like, well, do we Tim Duncan this thing? Was it no, it was David Robinson. When the Spurs got Tim Duncan, David Robinson got hurt. He could have came back. They said, no, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and finish this tank off. And then they got a generational big to go with a generational big. Maybe you say, screw it, and say, Lamar, we're putting you on IR with this hamstring. We'll see you in the summer. And we just go ahead and tank this thing out. But I think right now, top 15 pick, TJ Parker, pairing him with Mike Green long-term.
I'm going to say this with the Baltimore Ravens, that well, I'm going to say this with your perfect pairing in regards to the Baltimore Ravens, that I like the selection and the pairing. And it's because when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, they've taken a lot of second and third round swings on guys in the past that haven't panned out, right? The Adafe always, David Ojabo, Mike Green. And I'm not saying that Mike Green didn't pan out because he's still a rookie. But when you look at it, they've spent draft capital. Tavius Robinson, right?
Oh, I forgot about him, yeah.
They've spent draft capital on guys to try to find that next young pass rusher to be a double-digit sack guy, and that's probably the one position they haven't been able to hit on. And the weird part is that these guys have been talented, right? They've been skilled players. They just haven't turned the corner for some reason. David Ojabo, I know a lot of people had first-round grades on him coming out. I didn't have a first-round grade on him, and it wasn't because of the pass rush stuff. It was because of the running defense. But if you ask me, like, hey, can you put this guy in on third downs and he could get pressure, I would have, without a doubt, said I feel comfortable with him doing it. So whatever the reason is, these guys are not turning the corner when it comes to rushing the passer. And it shouldn't take long, DP, because even a guy like Jared Verse, who didn't have elite physical traits. Remember, like that, I think he was my pass rusher run, and he might have been yours, but a lot of people like Laitu Latu over him, right? But Jared came in as a rookie and had an impact. Byron Young, who's also on that Rams defense, came in as a rookie and had an impact, right? So I think for the Baltimore Ravens, you're looking for some of these guys that you spend draft capital on to turn the corner, and for whatever reason, they haven't been, but we'll see. My perfect pairing, DP, I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to go Jordan Tyson. And part of that is a prediction of the 49ers trending down. Yeah, in a downward trend. And they may have the same problem that the Baltimore Ravens have, injuries. This team is hurt, and I can't remember the exact statistic, right? I was watching Colin Cowherd a couple of days ago, and he was talking about Brock Purdy in regards to Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. And he was comparing it from a salary cap standpoint, that I think Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield are getting paid somewhere around the $30 to $35 million range, right? And don't quote me on these exact numbers, but Brock Purdy is getting paid maybe $10 million more, right? Because of the contract is more, closer to 50. So he was talking about that, and then he was also talking about the record without his offensive guys, right, being healthy, without the Ayuks, the Deebo Samuels. And it's a two-folded question, right? Because we always say that every quarterback needs pieces, right? Like that you need pieces to be able to be successful, which I believe is true. But then the other side of that too is that you have to put the pieces around them, right, to be successful. And the conversation about Brock Purdy is that I think he is a high IQ quarterback. I think he's a good NFL quarterback. Now, you put yourself in the modes of greats, and you kind of don't need as many guys around you if you have the elite physical traits on top of the high IQ stuff, right? Like you can afford, if you're the Buffalo Bills, to let it go of Josh Allen and still supplement the offense if you have elite physical traits like Josh Allen, right? And like physical traits aren't the end all be all, but they help you kind of supplement for certain things if you have them. Brock Purdy was drafted in the 7th round because he didn't have them, right? And so he needs those pieces. So that's why I look at a Jordan Tyson, and I'm like, hey, if you want to get your return on investment for giving Brock Purdy $50 million, put the weapons around him.
That's an interesting. I like it though. It's an interesting fit because Again, I mean, you also look at their situation, and there's a guy there who went to the same exact school who hasn't been very happy in San Fran, and that is Brandon Ayuk.
Right, now
So you
you
think about the fact that he's supposed to be returning from I think ACL injury sometime this year, coming off the probably the pup list and things like that. He could be a trade candidate. And I've been feeling this way for a while. Like he could be somebody if this thing tanks and injuries like really just continue to pile up and like because not only is so you got Kittle on IR, Purdy's battling the injury, Mac Jones, his backup quarterback, is battling the injury. I think might be offensive lineman, like I said, you got Ayuk, receiver, like it's a lot going on from the injury standpoint with San Fran. Yeah, I like Jordan Tyson because if you do trade Ayuk off, you build this offense with two young guys as Ricky Pearsall, Jordan Tyson. You still got Jacob Cowling from last year who can be the slot in the chain mover. You bring back a Juwan Johnson. You got George Kittle. This is still an offense that Brock Purdy can absolutely win with and work with. And now you, at the same time, you unload some contracts, unload some money by trading the Brandon Ayuk and different things like that. Get yourself into a more cap-friendly situation after paying Brock. Yeah, Jordan Tyson's the type of receiver that Brock Purdy would love. He would essentially step into that Brandon Ayuk role, being that outside receiver that can win one-on-one, and he could throw the ball early to the spots, anticipate throws, same way he does with Ayuk. I think that would be a home run hit for them if this season does tank for them, Keith. Yeah, like if I'm saying Fran, like, yeah, let's go ahead and get this receiver. Let's go ahead and trade off a Brandon Ayuk, get some cap relief, but also get back some return in terms of draft picks.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. I usually say throw on your hat and whistles, but we playing general manager at this moment, right? So get your nice desk, get your notepad, man, get your clicker, cut the film on, because what we're about to do is, man, we're about to grab these prospects and we're going to tell you which prospects have a lot of talent, right? A lot of physical traits, but we just have to hand them off to the coaches and say, coach this young man up. We can get a lot out of them. So we're going to do that coming up next.
The NFL season is back in full swing, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. And that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You will always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. The app is made super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before I purchase it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday. Shout out for being our everydayers. Coach them up, NFL coaches. We watched the tape. We found guys that can help your team. They help the team. Now you just got to do your job and put them in the right positions. Keith, I go to BYU, and I go to a linebacker that nobody knows about. And this guy's been on my radar. I wrote about him during the summer as a potential stock riser, a stock climber after this college football season for the 2026 NFL Draft. He's a redshirt junior. He could go back next year, but the way he's playing, I think he might end up declaring. 6'5", 240 pounds, Isaiah Glasker. And Keith, if I remember correctly, I believe he started out as a wide receiver who transitioned into a linebacker. This is a guy that played he's played basketball, all that type of stuff. He's like a two-way player, and he's athletic. He moves well. When he triggers downhill as a blitzer to the quarterback, he hunts quarterbacks. He's got a nose for the football, really good visual things. The thing I want to coach him up on is just in the NFL, because I'm gonna tell you what he looks like. You watch him on film, he's kind of built similar to Kyle Hamilton. He's kind of built like a safety at 6'5", 240, tall, kind of lean. Like he's strong. Don't get me wrong. He is a strong guy, but at the same time, In the NFL, these guards are 315, 330. Some of them, I mean, Mekhi Becton's like 350. You got these guys coming up to the second level. It's a little different dealing with them than dealing with a 19-year-old who's at 290 pounds in college, right? So I want to like coach him up in terms of taking on blocks, handling the run game, being able to try and attack downhill, not allow these guys to climb up to him, latch in and lock him out and move him out of the way. Just kind of improve that run defense as a downhill defender against power run game in the NFL. I think that's transition from any position that's not linebacker. You go from safety, corner, all of that. You move into linebacker. I think, what was it? I remember Isaiah Simmons said this. He was like, when the Cardinals moved them from linebacker to the edge, he said, the closer you get to the ball, the quicker the action is. He was like, yeah, it's a different ball game playing linebacker and you get to read and react. He said, you get to the edge and this ball snap, you got to fire off. And he was like, so I think with Isaiah Glasker is going to be a guy like that, probably fourth round. It probably is going to test well, more than likely, because he's a former wideout and two-sport athlete, and athleticism runs all in his family. I think his dad played both, I think volleyball and basketball or something like that. Like athleticism runs in his bloodline. This is a good player. Nobody really watches BYU like that, but this young man can play.
Yeah, I like that call out, DP, and somebody I have to jump in. And to your linebacker statement, that's one thing that has probably consistently bothered me with the evaluation of linebackers is people just taking safeties and putting them at linebacker. And I've always said, and it's because I play linebacker, that I was like, you have to worry about the mental part of it because you're closer to the football. So you have to be a quick processor. If you're a safety on any given play, you could be sitting 15 yards off the football. Means you have a second and a half to react. If you're a linebacker, you're playing 4.5 yards off the football, meaning you have half a second to react. And if you think about the evaluations that we've missed on with linebackers in the past, it's been linebackers where we've thrown out the IQ and their ability to process quickly in the box, and we've inserted how athletic are they? That's where the miss is, right? Because if they're athletic, and the same thing with wide receivers, I just say they're going nowhere fast, right? And it's the same exact thing. So I'm glad you said that. And unfortunately, with Isaiah Simmons, he had to learn the hard way. The NFL had to learn the hard way, right? So we'll see with that. But my coach him up guy, I'm gonna go with Auburn wide receiver Eric Singleton, a guy that we talked about preseason and haven't talked about too much. I think his numbers, to be completely honest, they've been average to mediocre, right? And part of that is the quarterback situation. Part of that is he's playing with two other 5-star wide receivers. But looking at Eric Singleton in a vacuum, DP, I talked a few weeks ago. I talked about Zachariah Branch and I talked about Deion Burks, right? Being two guys of the smaller stature that I think can be electric playmakers, and they're kind of separating themselves, right? I think Eric Singleton is right under that. Watching his film, this is a guy that's electric, stop ability. He plays on the outside, can run routes on the outside. His speed is threatening. It will put defensive backs in panic in quickly, right? Putting them in bail situations. So I think in the coach him up part of it is, listen, work on the fine details with him, but also coach him up schematically, like put him in positions to win. And I think Auburn, unfortunately, they went and got him from Georgia Tech, but they're not using him, right? And if he's a guy that if you decide to use him, he will be productive for you, and all in two different facets, right? The special teams part being a kick return, punt returner, but I think he can be a guy that you seek out every game to get 5 to 10 touches because he can flat out make plays. And I like the fact that he plays on the outside and the inside.
No, and this is a guy that, I mean, I think I said it when we talked about it in the summer. I'm like, you chose Auburn. Like, no, like for your NFL future, no. Like, you know what I mean? I think we got the quarterback wrong. I thought it was still the quarterback from last year, being Jackson Arnold, but newsflash, same problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jackson Arnold's a really good runner. He's not an advanced passer right now. And then, like you said, you got Cam Coleman, who's a potential first round, pick for 2027 as a 5-star recruit. And then, they got other, like, you got too much around you, and you got a question mark at quarterback where you could have, in all honesty, still been the guy at Georgia Tech And scouts would have had, the viewpoint of view would have been like, he was the guy for a team that is a run pass team. They're balanced, but their quarterback is okay. But when he wants to get the ball to a guy, he knows who he can go to, like they've done your entire career at Georgia Tech. It's either that, or you could have pulled Harrison Wallace III, and you could have went to Ole Miss. And you could have been the number one wide receiver at Ole Miss, because Harrison Wallace is number one receiver at Ole Miss right now.
Offense, right? Just go somewhere that's proven that,
come
outside
on.
of Cam Newton and what was that one year, Nick Marshall, I believe it was, when they played Jameis Winston in the college football chat. Like, outside of that, Auburn's offense has not been
it's been run game.
Yeah, a premier destination.
It's been run game. So I like that, Keith. Hopefully this, they can get the young man the ball a little bit more as we get down the stretch of the season. Talented player, but we got to see what this production is going to look like for him.
Yep, 100%. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at the Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we are previewing Week 6 of college football for the 2026 NFL Draft, and why maybe a Texas and a Miami quarterback need to make statements in Week 6. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow. The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.